Did you know you needed local council's approval to live in some parts of your own house in Italy? This is the part of renovating in Italy that nobody warned us about. If your Italian property was once a home that also sheltered animals, you need to watch this video. Hi, and welcome back to our channel, Italy Lifestyle. If you're new here, we're sharing our journey into buying and renovating a rural house in Ancona, Le Marche region of Italy. We bought this place dreaming of restoring its charm, but we quickly learned that with old Italian farmhouses, especially with rural ones, the paperwork can be hefty. And let's talk about what we ran into and what you should know before you start your own project. When I said before that since we bought this house, it felt like jumping on a never-ending roller coaster, it was no joke. We knew that buying a rural property would come with some challenges, but we did not expect that the entire downstairs was not classified as residential. That meant that before we could even think about renovating, we had to go through a costly approval process. It's one of those things that no one tells you before you sign the papers. When we bought this property, the upstairs was fully livable. 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen diner, and a cozy open plan lounge with a fireplace. But the downstairs was untouched, and this is where it gets interesting. This part of the house was once used for agricultural life. It's where the animals were kept. This could have been a shelter for horses, cows, maybe even pigs. And you can still see the original food containers where they held their food. Back in the day, it was very common in rural Italy to keep animals underneath the main living area because their body heat would actually contribute to warming the house during the colder months. With no central heating and winters that can be surprisingly cold in the hills of Le Marche, it was a smart, practical solution. The design also made the life easier. Farmers could tend to their animals without having to go outside in the bad weather, and everything they needed was right underneath their feet. As you can see, there is a door that allows access to the ground floor space from the inside. So while today we look at this as an unrenovated space, it was once a functional and efficient part of farmhouse living. In fact, this type of layout was really common in rural Italy, especially right here in Le Marche. It was called stalla sotto, casa sopra, which literally means barn below, house above. Even up to the 1970s, many farmhouses in this region were still built or adapted this way. Of course, times have changed. Our dream is to turn this area into a modern living space. But since it was still registered as agricultural use, that meant navigating a whole new world of regulations. This is really important for anyone buying in Italy. It means extra steps, extra paperwork, and yes, extra costs. We were told we needed to apply for a permesso di costruire, which basically is a full building permit. This wasn't about knocking down walls. It was just about getting permission to make changes to a building that the local council still considered rural or agricultural. And here is what it involved. Hiring a geometra who can support with submitting 4 architectural plans, local fees and historical registry checks. And the cost. Now, the cost for this was around 13,000 euros, just to change the registration for the use of the ground floor. I want to mention here that this is in our case and the prices do vary. From the date of the permit being issued, we were given by the local council 1 year to start the work and 3 years for completion. There is a possibility to apply for another 3 years extension at additional costs. It is all part of Italy's effort to modernize and preserve its architectural heritage, especially in rural regions like Le Marche. Today's rules mean that you need to meet strict standards for seismic safety, anti-seismica, since areas like ours are in earthquake zones, and you can watch my previous video where I talk in more detail about the costs for structural work, energy efficiency in line with EU climate goals, and preservation of rural identity, which applies heavily on farmhouses and ex-agricultural buildings. So if you're thinking of doing something similar, here's what you can expect to pay before renovation even begins. Average estimates: permits and fees for the change of use of parts of the building to make it a home, between 8,000 to 15,000 euros. A geometra or architect, between 8 to 12% of your renovation budget. Surveys and structural checks, between 2,000 to 5,000 euros. Energy and seismic compliance, 10,000 euros plus. Renovation, between 1,200 to 2,000 euros per square meter. Now, if we could go back in time and do it all again, here's what we would do differently. We would ask about uso catastale, the registered use of every part of the house. Get a local geometra involved early, even before signing the papers. Budget for bureaucracy because it's not optional. And most importantly, don't assume anything is included, even if the place looks ready to move into. We absolutely love this house and this region, and we're still so excited about what's ahead. But we want to help others avoid the surprises we had. So if this helped you, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more updates on our Italian renovation, and drop your questions below. We're happy to share everything we've learned so far. Ciao for now.